Welcome to Journey On. It's Church Chat with your family. I was going to say your friends, but it's your family, Pastor Karl and Jim.
Yeah, I'll take both.
We are and just to be sure, it is still May 12th, 2025, right? Is that we're in May, you know that for sure. It's
we are in May. It is May.
It's been 90 degrees in Bismarck and Fargo and in all points in between. That's incredible. I don't know what's happening, but we'll take a little bit of heat.
Yeah, I'm hoping it doesn't affect like the spring growth thing, like scorched earth type stuff. I told my wife I'd get our sprinklers fired up because the people around us, neighbors around us, already have nice green, lush grass, and ours is it still looks like fall. It looks like when I packed it away for the winter. It hasn't quite come around yet.
We're not supposed to be competitive with our neighbors, and yet we're human. I was the first one in the neighborhood to cut my grass. Thank you very much.
Nice.
I feel like I've won summer. I don't have to deal with anything anymore.
You only cut it once?
Yeah, that's it. I've done.
One time.
I've had enough. Yeah. Speaking of outdoor things, I'm going to use, I don't often use this platform for self-promotion, but I am going to put this out there. Janita and I are selling our camper. Be great for a young family, for maybe a couple that's retired. It suits like two people sleeping it comfortably. You could get a few more in there. If you're interested, you know where to find me. If you're looking for a camper, if someone in our family is looking for a camper, you're going to get a good deal, I promise.
Okay.
Do you have anything you'd like to promote? How's the coffee business these days?
Are you talking about Yellow Jacket?
Yes, Yellow Jacket. Yeah,
delivered some Yellow Jacket. Yeah. What was it, last week? I delivered. So probably next week I'll be bringing some because I do an exchange. I call Matt. Obviously, people in Bismarck know Matt, but people in Fargo. Matt is the owner and designer and inventor of Yellow Jacket cold brew, which is like, again, probably not the place, but it is the best. You've had it, right?
I am absolutely certain it's the best cold brew coffee in the entire world.
It is wonderful.
I don't drink cold brew coffee.
Oh,
but I'm certain it's the best that there is.
Well, there you go. And I would agree with your statement. But anyway, so there's a place in Fargo, the Holiday Inn, coffee shop in the Holiday Inn, and I call myself the coffee mule because I'll bring full ones and take empties back. And and you know what? Matt graciously gives me free coffee. He doesn't have to, but he does. And so I appreciate that. The coffee business is good.
The coffee business is good. So the pastoring in Bismarck is actually your side hustle. You're actually doing it for the coffee. Yes. Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, if you will.
Yeah. He's selling that good Colombian stuff going across the border.
Yep.
I see how it is. Yeah.
Right.
Well, okay. Let's get down to some businesses.
Okay. Sure.
We did a message this last week. We heard about Psalm 46, and it's Psalms. The book together are Psalms.
Mm-hmm.
An individual chapter, is that a psalm?
A psalm.
Psalm. So we did Psalm 46, not Psalms 46.
Right. Psalms is the collection.
Yeah.
Songs. Think of them as songs.
The song within the songs. Yeah.
Yep. And you have a collection of songs, and that's what it is, a collection. It really is a collection of songs. So
okay. Well, we're learning stuff. And then also, speaking of which, we talked a little bit before the recording, pronunciation of a word that we don't have a lot of history on. So pronunciation, we could go in a lot of directions, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that study these things. And Salah or Selah, that was used as, from what we could tell and what we discussed during the message this last weekend, that musical break, which intrigues me. Now we're talking music. Okay, I love the word. That's great and everything, but now we're talking music. You have my attention.
Yeah, a little pause, like a little pause to give people time to reflect. Yep.
Yeah. It's like the old the junior high dances where you had to leave room for the Holy Ghost. Salah is leaving room in a song for the Holy Ghost to come in, and do its work.
Hands on the
So,
shoulders, hands on the waist. Yep, swing
yes,
back and forth.
that's it.
Yep,
You remember, you were there.
I was. Yeah.
One of the questions that I had that came up during the message, and it's something I've been thinking about for a few weeks. I wanted to
Okay.
take a little time to talk about it here.
Sure.
We know where we're going when we die. We're confident in that. That's part of what it means to be Christian. Now, Jesus was a Jew, and
Yep.
he spoke to Jews, and a lot of what he talked about was based on that. So it was a new from, and this is where it kind of came to fruition
Sure.
for this question. What did Jews believe at that time that they thought was, well, what did they think was going to happen when they died? Did
Sure.
they, was there a even an understanding of resurrection or going to heaven or what so there you go. That's my question.
Okay.
All of that.
Uh, that's a really good question. So to answer to answer that, and I'll try not to take too long. Not that I can go so in depth I'd confuse you, but we really could get in the weeds on this.
Right,
But
right.
there was a few schools of thought, and one of the schools would be that there is no resurrection. That would be
Okay.
like the belief of the Sadducees. We hear about the Pharisees
Oh,
and the
okay.
Sadducees,
Hmm.
um, still Jewish,
Excuse me.
but they believe there's no resurrection. So when Jesus was speaking of resurrection,
Hmm.
they were like blasphemy,
Okay.
heresy, you know.
Makes sense.
Um, and then, but we we also know, going way further back,
Hmm.
Abraham, right? Think of Abraham
Hmm.
when God asks him to sacrifice his son Isaac, which we know God never intended on having him do. It was a test of faith.
Right.
There's some things that we know Abraham didn't really know what to believe, but he believed. And by that, I mean,
Hmm.
when you read that story, there's two servants coming with, and when he had the servants stay, he says, "We will be back." It was he and Isaac going up, right?
Hmm.
And Abraham knew what he was supposed to do. And then when we read in Hebrews, Hebrews tells us that Abraham believed that God would somehow bring his son back or save his son. So they didn't really have a word. Abraham didn't have a word, but he knew that God would come through somehow.
Okay. All right.
All right. So there was something. And
Right.
and um and then when Jesus is preaching and
Mhm.
teaching about resurrection, that's when we start to get this real picture of, oh, this is all the provision and all the promise. This is what that was all about. And then you
Yeah.
can go back retroactively and look at things and like this week, I know we're not there yet, but this week we're going to be talking about Psalm 16, and Peter and Paul both quote
Oh,
Psalm 16 when they're talking about Jesus being the Messiah.
all right. Okay, so
Um,
this is actually going to tie into a little bit of what we'll be talking about this coming
exactly.
weekend. Oh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. I'm
was
trying
not
to.
planned. This wasn't a setup, folks.
No,
This was a
no,
legitimate
that was
question
Holy
that I've
Spirit.
had for a bit of time. So that is, and thinking about here again, let's go back to putting ourselves in that time
Love pudding.
because I love pudding. When we're there witnessing this, so I've time traveled and I'm there watching Jesus. Somehow I understand the language, watching Jesus teach, and there are some that have no concept of resurrection, and that would
Yeah.
be, like you said, blasphemy. Then, like that,
Yeah.
what he's saying doesn't make sense. He's
Yeah.
all wrong, and there are others, by inference, then that did have an understanding of resurrection, and maybe that
Kind of.
was yeah. So, all
Well,
right,
let me add on to that then.
okay.
So his followers, his friends, his
Mhm.
group, his posse, if you will, when he was telling them, because over the course of his 3 years, he would say, I'm going to go away and I'm going to build a place for you
Mhm.
and these types of things. And I just I get the feeling that it's a lot like if you and I went to a Jordan Peterson um, expose or whatever he calls what he does,
Mhm.
and he's talking kind of over our head, and hmm, and you're getting so. Oh, I
Yes.
recognize that
Yep.
word. Oh, I can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a fun
Yeah.
place to put it. I think that's what the disciples are like. Oh, he's going to go away, and one of the disciples says, "Why can't we go with you? Why
Mm.
can't we're with you?" and they couldn't quite understand it. And we really see a picture of that when we just talked about this on Easter, when Peter and John are running towards a tomb, and John finally goes in, and it says he saw and he believed. Like there, all of a sudden, he went, "That's what he was talking
Yeah,
about."
those moments that
Oh,
click. Yeah.
now I get it.
Yep.
Peter still hadn't quite made the connection. So people not making we can't look back. We can't look back on pre or Old Testament times
Hmm.
and judge them too harshly, because imagine, somebody coming into your house and saying, by the way, that's not a couch, that's a Yamaha. You'd be like, no, it's not. And they're like, yes,
Sweet.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sweet.
yeah. Well, wait, Yamaha piano or Yamaha motorcycle? Because
Yamaha, well, either one, if it's not a couch, what is it? Yeah, a motorcycle. But you'd be like, no, it has no what? That doesn't make
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Um, and so they were under a lot of, history and
Hmm.
just that whole what do you call that? Grooming.
Oh, sure.
So
Well,
when
yeah,
when
there's a lot there, and one of the things when I ask questions like that, and I recognize we can have a conversation about it, and
yeah,
also to have the full answer, I would love to talk to a rabbi, right? Like that,
yeah,
just
sure.
because that tradition still holds from their perspective, from that
Mhm.
perspective, rather.
Yep,
So
yep.
yeah, just I like conversations like that. Always interested to have that here when we talk at church, after church, uh, anytime we can get together. That's part of what excites me about being part of our family and being a Christian. We all have this language that we can continue to expand on.
Yeah,
So,
that's how you grow.
yeah.
That's exactly how you mature as a Christian is, and it actually is part of the spoiler alert, it's part of the challenge.
Oh, all right. Well, you're
So
just yeah, you're jumping ahead all over the
I
place. I
am.
love these
I'll
little
I'll
these
try and
little
I'll try and
teasers,
wait
man. It's
and
all
wait till
about
the
show
end.
business today. All about show business. I love it. Uh, one of the call outs that you did during the message was back to Psalm 2, and it was the idea that you're going to pick a side because
Yeah.
you're with Jesus or not. And I went back and read Psalm 2, and there's not a lot of gray area there.
He's
Uh,
not. No,
and
no.
if anyone hasn't done that, if you heard the message, if you didn't, by the way, again, huge shout out to our tech people that have it up online for us to watch, and the ability to do that. And then uh, just reading through Psalm 2, we're in this book of songs, our songbook, right? As
Yep.
a series. Reading
Yep.
Psalm 2, reading any of the Psalms isn't a bad thing.
No,
It's not going to spoil any of the messages coming up, I can't imagine. So
no,
it's
no.
it's a good one. It's a good one to read through and to remind ourselves who that one true one, who the one is, right? And it's funny, the one line basically saying God's just laughing at all of the idiots running around.
That are plotting against him, that are trying to,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And I mean, speaking as one that isn't plotting against him, but plotting for him, I still imagine God looks down from time to time and says, "That idiot."
God in the face palm. Oh, Jim.
Yeah. And then the final thing about this last week's message, the Gideon,
Oh,
I
yeah.
that was a fun story for me, and there was a movie called The 300 that came out maybe 15, maybe even 20 years ago now. Is very
Okay.
stylistically designed, a lot of filmography. There were some slow-mo things. It was about like gladiator times. It's a
Oh, okay.
very it's a I've lost the word right now, but it's like Greek mythology almost.
Oh,
The guy, the 300, he has his 300 that goes against all of these other people. I don't
sure.
think it's this story because
No,
yeah.
that sounds more like a Sparta type of
Yes,
thing.
yeah, like yeah, exactly. It was these that actually sounds right, maybe the 300
Okay.
Spartans. So I didn't realize that there was a biblical version, so I had to go back and read some of that too. Like,
Yeah.
they whoever came up with the story first, apparently 300 is an important number. That worked pretty well. And
Yeah. That's
interesting
a
how they
very
were,
interesting story, isn't it?
yeah, and
Yeah.
interesting how they were chosen. It was the ones that lapped the water out of their hands. Like, what?
Right. Keep
That's,
an eye on the
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So some good stuff, and I
Yeah.
love that we have more that we can take from those messages. And I respect that you, the messenger,
Okay.
each week
Take that.
has a half hour, 45 minutes to talk about all of these things that by all rights we could spend, days, 8 hours
Okay.
a day, day after day after day talking about Psalm 46. And I would love to still be doing that, but got to pay them bills, right?
Right. We got to pay the bills.
Yeah,
So I have two takeaways, more than two, but
yeah.
I am absolutely shocked at the number of people, and this just means I'm getting old. That's really what it means, that have never heard Pina Colada, the Escape song, or seen Jaws, the movie. I need some new references
Those,
because,
no, no, I don't. Well, yes. I was going to say you don't, but yeah, you know what? Yeah, you
yeah,
do. This is
I got to up
this
my
is
game a
why
little bit.
this is why we have younger friends and younger family. Your
Yeah,
grandkids will be giving you references, whether you like it or not, at some
true,
point soon. Yeah.
true.
So that'll help. The Pina Colada song, I was a little surprised that you decided to use that as a reference because that's not a very, I mean, that's a terrible story.
It is a terrible story, and that was part of the
Yes.
that was
Yeah.
part of the emphasis was
Yeah.
if you don't listen to it all the way through, it's not it's not as bad as so
I
context.
mean, it ends up okay if you
Yeah.
like that
Well, they
kind
were
of
both
story.
looking. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
it's a weird. I
Yeah.
don't know. I had that song in my brain. And I went,
And
that's a keeper. That'll work. And
it's good
Jaws
when
just happens to be, for those that don't know, most people in Fargo know, Jaws is my all-time favorite movie. So anytime I
I'm
can use a
shocked by
Jaws
that.
reference, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I'm all over it. But I
Is
might
it
have
is
to
it
come
because
up
of
with
the
a new
bass?
name.
Is that why?
It might be. I don't know. I saw it when I was, what, 8 years old, and
Oh,
it has been.
okay. So it was a very influential
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm obsessed with sharks. Shark Week is a
All right.
big week for me. When I lived in
Very
Florida for
cool.
2 years, never went in the water because obviously that's where sharks live. I'm pretty safe here in North Dakota.
Yeah, that's
Not a
why
lot
you
of
live
sharks in North
here.
Dakota.
That's how you ended up in Fargo, North Dakota. No
Probably,
sharks. Yeah.
probably no sharks. Yeah, where's the least possible chance of getting attacked by a shark? That'd be Fargo. Well,
So
I'm moving there.
have you been to Universal Studios to see the actual Jaws? Have you done their
Yeah.
studio tour and everything?
Yes, we took
Okay,
the
good.
my wife and I, and this would have been 30 plus years ago. We went on it, and there's a few mechanical things that come up,
Yep,
and
yep.
yeah, it was surreal. It was really
And
really
then
neat.
and then also to go through where they parted the water, for uh uh who did the thing with the staff and parted the water. What was that movie
Oh,
called?
Moses.
What
Oh, are you
was
talking about the Ten
uh
Commandments?
yes, the Ten Commandments. We
Charlton
actually
Heston.
the tram that we were on went through where he parted the water, so I got to experience that. That was pretty cool.
Well, that may not have been a thing. Maybe it was, and I was just stuck on.
You're still thinking about the shark, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh, okay, well, good stuff, man. I don't know what direction to go from here other than
let's go up. Let's take it up.
Psalm 16. We could talk about
Psalm
that. That's
16.
what's coming up this coming weekend, right?
Correct. Yes.
And you said that there were groups of psalms that not necessarily in sequential order, but what grouping would this be from? Is there a umbrella?
Good question. So this goes under the hope, or I guess this would be um trust.
Okay,
Similar to like Psalm 23 falls under the trust, but
okay.
like you and I were talking before, I like the idea of uh the mixtape, or
Hmm.
as you said last week was playlist,
The playlist, yeah, for the young
because
kids, yeah.
it's a bunch of different things, and even though I'm going to focus on two or three specific lines in this psalm. It is a psalm of hope
Mm,
and a psalm of trust because faith falls under the trust category. So I would say it is in that trust category.
cool. All right. Well, that'll be exciting. And again, it's okay to read it ahead of time.
Please do read ahead.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yep.
do read ahead.
And do you have any final thoughts as we wind down our discussion this evening?
I do, and it has to do with what you were talking about earlier. Um, even in reading ahead, and if people want to choose, I've started about three different sentences, so I'm going to back up. My challenge, my final thought is since we're in this song book, Psalms, there's 150, and there's some really long ones.
Mm,
Um, and there's some that are probably, 30 words. Um, so I want to challenge everybody to just start reading, and you can
Ooh.
start at one and work your way through, or you can just flop it open. I don't know that, um, it's not cumulative. If you read three and you haven't read one and two, it's not going to make sense. It's not like that.
They're not
Um,
sequels.
no, they're not sequels or
Solid
sequel.
part two.
Yes, exactly. And then what I'd like to do is I want to up it a little bit, not just read, but just make some notes of questions that might arise,
Mm.
some definitions that maybe need to be made. Maybe there's a visual that comes into mind. Maybe there's an emotion attached to it. Just make some notes on those things. And I would love to talk to literally anyone
Yeah.
uh, about that, because think about songs. That's what they do, right?
Mhm.
They evoke emotion.
Right. It's a
If
good
you're
one.
listening to a
Yeah.
song and you're able to just sit lifeless, foot's not tapping, mind isn't wandering, not listening, that's crappy music.
Mm.
That's not your find
So
another song.
I've found that there are other people like me that don't, this almost sounds like an excuse, but I don't hear lyrics a lot of times in music.
Sure.
And I thought that I was alone in that for a long time because many of my friends and people around me could hear a song a couple times and then they would sing along with it. And
Sure.
that's so rare for me. Even
Yeah.
even today, with worship songs,
Mhm.
the the words will sometimes hit me, sometimes while we're playing as a matter of fact,
Sure.
because I really hadn't paid attention up to that point. It's the music that I hear, and the voice for me is more of a an instrument than
Oh,
language
sure.
thing. It's
Yeah,
almost separated for me. So, and I know there's other people like that. So, to
absolutely.
really focus in on the Psalms and the words and the emotion that comes from how the words are put together, that sounds
Yep.
like an awesome challenge. I appreciate
Yeah.
that. And it's kind of a hefty one because you're asking to read Psalms, take notes, think about questions, and have conversations. And the reason I say it that way is because accountability helps with that. So
Sure.
as we do this over the series of weeks that are coming up, we can continue to talk about that and help each other out and
Yeah,
really dive in and let's see what we can learn.
absolutely. Well said. Thank you.
2025 is the year of growth, so let's
Your
continue
growth.
to do that individually and together, right?
Correct.
Amen. All right, we'll see everybody soon. Take care.